What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here, back here with another video, a bit of a different one for you guys today. It's nearly a year since Jose Mourinho took charge of the Tottenham Hotspur job. The 20th of November 2019, Jose Mourinho took the reins. So around about a year ago to the day, we were kind of, mourning Poch. Not whether, well, I personally wasn't sure about Jose Mourinho and what have you, but we're going to take the time now to reflect on the last year to see how kind of we think Jose Mourinho has done in the job, the obstacles he's had to overcome, a few stats along the way. But yeah, look, to start off with...
We'll talk about ultimately, was it right to sack Poch, bring in Mourinho, and we'll assess this, what we think so far of how the year has gone.
Yeah. So you want to get us underway with a few stats?
Yeah, so first of all, I want to just focus mostly on the Premier League games he's played, because last season, Champions League, he didn't really get a fair crack at that because the Leipzig game came, the double-header, we had so many injuries. He never really had a chance on that.
Yeah.
Obviously, the FA Cup, we bowed out to Norwich, which he takes a lot of the blame for, but it was that we went out on penalties. And this season, Europa League, obviously we won a host of games in Europa League this season, but it's hard to take too many conclusions from the Europa League because we've seen it so many times.
It's just a host of changes every game.
Not only is that, it's hard to make too many conclusions because you can win all these games in Europa League, but it doesn't mean much when it comes to back to Premier League and how good a team actually is. You think about the teams under Arsenal, under like Wenger and Emre, who always did well in Europa League, but struggled big time in Premier League games because there's such a big difference in quality.
Yeah.
So I wanted to, when we're judging his time, I want to kind of take that out of it a bit and just focus solely on Premier League. So he's managed 34 games in the Premier League since coming into Spurs, 18 wins, 8 draws and 8 losses.
So how many points is that accumulated
62 points in the 34 games, which if you stretch that over a whole season, it's not that impressive. It's not terrible, but was that 62 divided by 34? So that's 62 divided by 34. That's 1.8 points a game, which isn't great in all honesty. That gets you, that's like Europa League kind of form. That gets you 5th, 6th place, which is where we finished last season.
Yeah, exactly. That was like the kind of points tally we were getting just before Pochettino came to the club.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much. But if you break down the numbers a bit more, you can see slight differences in where points are won and lost, for example. So if you actually break it down into when Kane and Son played and when Kane and Son were not available. So when Kane and Son started together, that was 23 games. And out of those 23 games, we've won 14 of them. So we won 14 of those 23 games, losing 4, drawing 5. We scored 47 goals in those 23 games, and we've accumulated 47 points, which is 2.04 points per game, and that's a lot healthier. That's more of a top 4 challenging team. That's more, it gets you around the 75 point mark, which is what's solid, which is pretty solid. And then you look at the games that Kane and Son didn't start together. We played 11 of those games, won 4, lost 4, drawn 3. So we only won 4 of the 11. What was what Alex said? We can't survive without Kane and Son. Well, the stats back that up. We only scored 15 goals when they didn't start together in the 11 games.
Surprised it's that many, to be honest.
Yeah, but that's so low, and the points per game is 1.36, and that's really mid-table form.
You got to remember though, when Kane and Son were out for that period, we did have many other players out at the same time as well.
Soka was out as well, I remember. And Bergwijn and was getting injured as well. Yeah, but
Dyer, there was a few different players out at the same time, and like it got to a stage where literally every game we had a new injury, and it was just like piling up, and that kind of moment for Jose Mourinho was his worst moment in the last year, and it was kind of warranted with the kind of injuries, the scale of the injuries that we had. But Jose Mourinho at that period was kind of showing a bit of a defeatist attitude.
He was, which at the time annoyed me because I felt like when Poch had these kind of injuries, he kind of just got on with the job.
Poch never had that.
He did.
Not to that scale. Come on, I've never seen that big of an injury crisis at Spurs before.
When we in his penultimate season at Spurs, and when we got to the Champions League final, around January, February time, we had Kane and Son out.
Kane got injured in the Man City game in the first leg.
No, even before then. I'm talking about January time. Son was out for a bit. Sorry, not Son. Kane was out for a while, and Son was out for a couple of games, not for as long as he is for
That's what
Jose.
I'm saying. We've never had such an injury crisis before. Yeah, maybe the odd game here, the odd game there, they'd both be out for, but never for an extended period of time.
Yeah, well, the injury crisis Jose had to suffer was nothing. Poch never really had to do it to that extent. It's true. But I think when we did have injuries under Poch, I think we looked better than when we had injuries under Jose, which is a frustration. But when we've had one of Kane or Son available, we've always been a threat going forward. And I think also since lockdown, which is when Jose really had the most amount of time to spend with his players and to implement his ideas, we've played 17 games, winning 10. Drawing 5, losing 2. So I've only lost 2 of the 17, which is like nearly half a season.
And also, the way you got to look at it as well is that every time, both of those losses, there were big reactions from the team in both those times. So Sheffield United, we didn't lose again for the rest of the season. We probably played our best football at that time under Jose Mourinho. And then we lost the first game of the season. Everyone was so excited for the season to start. We lost. And now you would say we're probably the most on-form team in the Premier League.
Yeah, since losing, we've played 7 games, winning 5, drawing 2, and those 2 games should be 2 wins. So really, we should be looking at 7 wins out of 7. And look, football's football, so we're not. But we're just saying, judging on performances, that we should be. I think it's the signs really, especially since this season has started, it's very encouraging for the Jose tenure. I think he's really spent a lot of time. Last season, a lot like other managers in their first season, if you look at Guardiola, even Pochettino in his first season at Tottenham, Jurgen Klopp, I think even more so, someone like Jurgen Klopp in his first season at Liverpool, there was a lot of mess to figure out. There was a lot of problems in the team to figure out. A lot of, not only just to figure out, also identify who to replace, what the squad needed, what was lacking. And it was very up and down last season for sure. We can all that was obvious, but it was always going to happen when the team had so many problems as it did last season, and with the tactics going stale, the squad as well.
Just so many holes in the squad as well.
A lot of holes in the squad. A lot of players who weren't at the level they previously are, like Jan Vertonghen and players like that.
Yeah. Toby Alderweireld looked like he was like reducing in powers as
exactly.
well.
He hadn't signed a contract either. We had Eriksson, who wasn't signing a contract.
Squad big time.
Exactly. We had signings like Ndombele, who hadn't fitted into the squad yet.
Players like Danny Rose as well.
Danny Rose, who was a big troublemaker. We had Lo Celso, who hadn't fully acclimatized. So we had made signings. Even like everyone points to, we made signings that summer, which we did. We were the highest spending team in England for that summer, but the signings never played. So we pretty much hadn't signed anyone in a way because they hadn't pretty much didn't have any minutes early on the season. So there was a very up and down. And I think Jose has really identified the problems in the squad. He's had a fantastic summer this summer. And we look at a completely new team this summer.
100%.
Completely new team. And I think he's done really well to identify the problems, which is not an easy task. And he's done really well to, him and the management staff have done really well to identify players within the budget who would fit the problems. For example, defensive midfield is a massive issue that everyone's been going on about.
That signing alone, I think, has transformed us. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I mean,
completely.
If we would have just signed Højbjerg this summer, I still think we would have been in for a good season. Just Højbjerg alone.
And I think we're defending much, much better as a team as we were.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's the key point, as a team, because when you look at last season, mainly when Poch was in and when Jose first came in and that period where Jose...
before lockdown.
Exactly. When we lost Kane and Son, we were just playing like individuals on the pitch, and that was it. There was no team cohesion. It didn't seem like there was any kind of chemistry between the team. It didn't look like these players have been playing together for the past 5 years. You know what I mean? The majority of them had been. And, you know, you look at it now and it's completely night and day. You can see the attitude and the mentality is growing game by game. Before lockdown, you would say that we were losing and drawing more games than we were winning. And now it's completely the flip side of it.
And you can see now, especially what's night and day. First of all, you look at the goals we're conceding at the moment. A lot of them are either a bit of luck for the opposition, a wonder goal, or a penalty or something, is that we're not conceding the chances as badly as we were last season. The chances we're conceding.
Before lockdown, we were conceding chance after chance after chance after chance. No backbone in that team whatsoever. The centre backs were not performing well. The full backs were evident problem for 2 years in a row. There was no CDM in there. Winks was having to fill in at CDM. So I mean, there was no cohesion in that team whatsoever. And you can see how much it's changed. Højbjerg, a proper leader in that middle of the park. Dyer and Toby really starting to form that partnership. Reguilon has come in and provided us something completely different on that left-hand side as well.
And you look at Eric Dyer, he started 7 games last season at centre-back. And it wasn't going that well for him last season. Even though actually his performances were quite good. If we remember, for example, like against Wolves, right? He had an actually really good game at centre back, but we ended up losing the game. But this season, since Dyer's, I think he's only missed 1 game at centre back this season. That was against West Ham.
Yeah.
Apart from that, he's played every single game, and we've except for Southampton, we conceded 2 goals. We haven't conceded more than 1 goal in any other game except for that. And even last season, I think, except for the Sheffield United game, he's had pretty good performances at centre back. So he is really coming along, and I think he's been one of the main beneficiaries of the Mourinho tenure as well, because he was going nowhere. I felt under Poch in his last, I would say, couple years really. He wasn't sure whether Poch wasn't sure whether he wanted to be a centre back or a centre mid or whatnot. There was he wasn't doing it in centre mid anymore. He didn't have the kind of I think as a team we've kind of outgrown him in centre midfield.
Well, he was getting overrun in centre midfield pretty much every game, week in, week out, whenever he was to play.
And even showed at the beginning of Mourinho's tenure, because he started playing him at centre mid right at the beginning, and look how many times he got taken off early. 1, 2, 3, 4, four
There
games.
was even one of them he got taken off in the first half.
He had 9 starts in centre mid in Mourinho's first 13 games. And in those 9 games, he got taken off early 4 times. So that showed that he was really struggling.
In this case, you've got to commend Jose Mourinho for keeping the faith in a player that he obviously knows and he obviously loves, and he knows what kind of attributes he can bring to the team, and he's coached this out of him, because Eric Dyer was in a rut. There was no 2 ways about it for a while, for a long time.
Yeah. Injury
after injury, bad performance after bad performance. A lot of the Spurs faithful would have happily seen him go. And the way he's performing now, you got to say he is the first name on the centre backs at the moment.
Yeah, he is on the team sheet. Yeah, I completely agree. And I think I think a big part of why our defence isn't looking as vulnerable is because of the acquisition of Højbjerg, which we didn't have last season. And I continually said that last season. The fact we didn't have protection for the back 4 made our defenders look a lot worse than they were.
Yeah.
And but now, not only do we have that protection, we're defending a lot better as a team. And I think as a team together,
and attacking a lot better as a team as well.
That's also true. I think going forward, I think we're a lot more clinical. You can see that when we get chances now, we're not taking 3-4 chances.
How many chances has Son even had this season?
It's ridiculous. But he's probably
had about 9 or 10 chances this season. He scored 8 goals in the Premier League.
And I think I think Mourinho is really coaching the attackers to, when they get their opportunities on goal,
take it.
We're not. It's not even as if we're getting more opportunities out, because we're not. We're getting very similar in terms of numbers, very similar amount of opportunities, but we're just being so much more clinical, a lot sharper. And I think that's exactly that's a big part of Jose's influence that he's had, especially this season. And also it was a case of the back end of lockdown as well. Remember those games against Leicester and against Newcastle, where we didn't exactly have a host of chances, but when we did attack, we attacked with intent and then attacked with precision, and we scored pretty much with very few shots on target in those games. We were getting a lot of goals, so that's a big difference to how we've been implemented. And I'm very happy with how things are going at the moment with Jose, especially how the season has started. I think things he could improve on are, not
giving bottom teams too much respect.
Yeah, I feel like I think the problem really, first of all, came to light when we played Bournemouth last season in of a lockdown. We drew 0-0. We barely had a chance all game. We were playing so deep, far too worried about what Bournemouth can do, and not worried enough. Yeah, it was away. Yeah. They were battling relegation. And we drew 0-0, and we were far too worried about them.
And they were on shocking form at the time as well,
I remember they were conceding goals left, right and centre. They just conceded 5 to United the week before. And we go there and we shut up shop, and it was like we were playing for a draw. And that's quite frustrating when, Pochettino goes into every game looking to win, looking to be on the front for every game, which was really positive for this first few years. But obviously he caught up with us in the last year, and I think the squad we had needed a change of tactics, needed a fresh approach.
Of course it did. It went very stale. I mean, it just seemed as though everyone had run out of ideas. Poch had run out of ideas. The players had run out of ideas and run out of steam. I mean, that team and that squad will run into the ground, and I think, if we would have won something in the last 2 years of the Poch era, I think it would have been refreshed, and I think they would have had some renewed belief and stuff like that. But just because they just kept failing at the last hurdle, it just ran itself into the ground pretty much.
Yeah, and there's only so long you can keep going like that until the players stop believing that this is actually the right way.
Exactly. Like, how long can you keep being the nearly men for? At the end of the day, it's always gonna fall fat on his face if you don't get over the line at some stage.
And it was very interesting to hear what Harry Kane had to say over the last few days in the international break, actually, because he said Jose's come in and he's come in with an aura of that he always wins something whenever every club he's been at, and it's really made the players buy into his ideas and his way of playing and his tactics. Because I think, although we've become a top club, and in the last few years, and the profile of the club has been raised a lot. What is missing is just those trophies in the cabinet. It's literally the only thing at the moment that's missing from Tottenham. It's just a few something to show for how much the club has grown on the pitch, he's just the perfect guy for that.
Yeah, but I feel like the profile has mainly grown off the pitch, to be fair. With the stadium, with the training ground.
And on the pitch, because of Champions League football, it's got to a final.
Yeah, okay, but
challenging for titles.
But we just weren't getting over that line, though. I know the stature maybe did grow, but it's not enough to grow and being like, all right, look, we're one of the biggest teams in the world now. You can't say that until you start winning trophies.
Agreed.
But off the pitch, we are one of the biggest clubs in the world. The club finances between it all, the best stadium in Europe, the best training facilities in Europe, and that's not being matched up on the pitch.
I agree. But I think it is now with Jose's here and the summer we've had, we might be starting to see that.
Yeah.
We might be starting to see that, and that's big credit to Jose and the backroom staff. But yeah, we under Pochettino, it was starting to the fire had died out.
We didn't win an away game for over a year.
Exactly, and now we've won 100% away record already this year. Although obviously the circumstances permitting with the virus and everything.
Yeah.
So I think, reflecting on Jose's first year, it's been a good first year, and I think it's definitely going in the right direction. There are things he needs to improve, but I think at least the team has a kind of base at the moment. You feel like it has a base, a way of playing, and even when we aren't playing that well, and the football's not great, and we're not kind of clicking on the ball, there is still that base of defending as a team and being solid and being compact, and that means that even when we're not playing well, we could always nick a goal and get a win, and that's exactly how the last couple of away games have been.
And you've got to say, another thing that Jose Mourinho has completely transformed within the club is leaders and leadership, and the leadership value within the team. I know a lot of them are the same players, but when you look at the spine of the team of Hugo Lloris, Eric Dyer, Toby Alderweireld, Emil Højbjerg, Harry Kane, you know what I mean? They're all leaders on that pitch. And you would say they weren't showing that lead. Well, Højbjerg wasn't there, but Alderweireld, Dyer, even Lloris we weren't calling a leader when Pochettino was at the club. Harry Kane, yeah, he was a leader, but apart from that, you wouldn't say there was a proper lack of leadership within the squad, and now it's packed of leaders.
Agreed. And the team is being solid and playing well at the moment. But how would you say the team is playing at the moment compared to in terms of peak Pochettino era? Would you take the peak Pochettino team, like say 16-17, or would you take the way we're playing at the moment?
It's a difficult one. I mean, if you put Southampton and Man United and compare it to those games, I'll probably take the Southampton-Man United game because it looks as though we're more solid at the back and we're really bursting on the counter-attack. But week in, week out, you've got to say Pochettino's team were much more easier on the eye. These last 3 games that we've played, we haven't looked good.
Yeah, and to be fair,
solid.
But to be fair to the Pochettino era, we did have the best defence in the league at the time.
True.
So we were solid at the back and we were easy on the eye. And that was why we loved the team so much.
True.
Obviously, that didn't carry on forever because I think the tactics, the team weren't as able to carry out the tactics Pochettino wanted. But I feel like. I feel what's it called? What was I saying?
Still think the first 11 of the peak Pochettino is better than the side we got now, but the squad is much better now than what we had at the peak Pochettino.
That's definitely true. I still feel we have we caught up to where we were at peak Pochettino? Not just yet, but we're definitely on the right track.
We're on the right track,
and I'm not sure yet if this is going to be the season where we hit it or if it's going to be next season. I think we're on the right track this season, and if I was a betting man, I would say we maybe this season we could catch up with the peak Pochettino team, but we might have to wait till next season till we're there.
I agree. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, and there's a lot of talk about people putting Tottenham up there for title contenders and what have you, and yeah, we might be in the conversation. But I just think this season might come a bit too soon for those kind of talks. And I think this team, these players need 1 year behind them playing together, get Jose Mourinho's style proper implemented in the team. You can see it starting to shift now. You can see this season is a proper shift in mentality and a proper shift into a Jose Mourinho team. But I think title talks are a bit premature, and I think next season will be the real season where we actually have the squad and the attitude to go in for the title.
I tell you what, actually, game more surprisingly than most stood out for me this season more than most other games was actually the League Cup game against Chelsea, because that game everything was against us. Every single thing. We had a game 2 days later. We had a game 2 days before. We're playing a Chelsea team who spent all that money. They're playing their first team. We didn't have Kane or Son. We had to play a complete makeshift team. Yet we still implemented tactics in that game with the makeshift team to hurt the opposition, to create chances, to be competitive in the game, and we ended up winning. And that really, really impressed me in that game. And I think it went under the radar how important
we won on penalties.
And we won on penalties. And I think that game kind of went under the radar and how important it was for the confidence of the team to for the confidence in the team to, even when we don't have our best players playing or the best players in the squad playing, we can still be competitive against anyone and any team because of the tactics implemented by Mourinho. And that is what that game stood out for me this season, as that showed me we're definitely going to be on the right track this season, because obviously this team started with a bit of doubt with the Everton defeat and a few poor performances but wins in the Europa League. We weren't really sure what to make of it, but I think that game was a big turning point.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that. And as well, you got to say that Jose Mourinho, when you compare it to Pochettino, like I was saying before, that the squad's better now, but the starting 11 was better under Pochettino. But what the difference is, we've got a manager now that knows how to get over that line, and he can probably get over the line with a lesser side than Pochettino. You know what I mean? Because he's a more established manager. Like we keep saying, everywhere he goes, he wins, and he's won stuff. He's won the Premier League with worse teams than he has now, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and that's the pure facts of the matter.
It's true. I completely agree. So I'm confident going forward that Jose is the right man, and I'm confident. But if you look back at when we sacked Poch, I said at the time that this team needs a rebuild. We all knew the team needed a rebuild, right? But so the question mark is, do you change the manager and see if he can get more out of his squad, or do you just have a complete rebuild in the summer and give Pochettino a fresh squad? Do you still think, I said at the time we should have given Pochettino a fresh squad, and even a few weeks later after Mourinho had a good start, I still stood by that. Do I still think now that was the right, that was the right thing?
It's very hard to say.
It's very hard to say, because I still think Poch is such a good coach, and he could have done so much more with a bit more backing that Mourinho's getting now. So would Pochettino do more with this squad than Jose's doing? It's very, very difficult to say. I don't think it's so hard to say. I don't know.
I don't know. For me, I didn't say this at the time, but now when you look back on it in hindsight, the Pochettino project had finished and it needed to move on. Yes, he could have done with a rebuild, but he needed that rebuild earlier. And by the time it all came about, he seemed fed up with everything. And I think it was just right for everyone just to move on. I mean, I would love to see him back at the club one day. But at the end of the day, I'm happy Jose Mourinho is at the club. I'm happy a purebred winner is at the club. And I commend Daniel Levy for the way he's done things, because it wasn't easy for him, for the decisions he made. You know, he was very good friends with Pochettino. He said it was the hardest decision he's ever made. So you got to commend him for making these difficult decisions, and it's looking like at the moment that it could be working in our favour.
Yeah, and the thing with Jose, if you bring in Jose in, you have to do it right. You can't bring him in and not back him. You can't. Otherwise,
and that was the worry. That was the worry.
That was the biggest worry of everything.
Yeah.
We always knew if you back Jose, every club that's backed Jose has had success, and that's exactly what we've done. And I think we've done it the right way with Jose. So I am leaning towards it being the right decision, but I do still feel if Pochettino had the rebuild that he deserved to have, I think we could have pushed on again this season.
But that rebuild had to happen probably the year before the Champions League final.
Yeah.
You know
yeah, he kind of was a miracle he got to the Champions League final.
Yeah, exactly. He got to the Champions League final without spending a penny.
Yeah, unbelievable job. So I still feel bad for Poch, and I still feel like if he had the rebuild now, I think he could also have challenged for the title. But I feel like having Jose there has given the players that extra belief that they really are going to win something this season. I think that there is a belief in this squad now that we are on the right track. We're actually going to get over the line. And I think under Pochettino, it was always just a hope that we would do it. I think there's a belief now we would do it.
There's no excuses anymore. Everything is in the right place. There is no excuses anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't win anything either this year or next year, I mean, we're going to be looking back and being like, how the hell did we win nothing under Mourinho and Poch?
Yeah, if we do win nothing under Mourinho, we are cursed, officially cursed, and that's it. And what did I say on the day? I remember I was on the radio the day Mourinho was appointed. I said, Poch taught us today and Mourinho will teach us to do. And I think we're seeing that now. Well,
look, we have to wait and see. But it really,
if you give Mourinho,
really could be. It's only 8 games in the season,
yeah,
you know what I mean? So,
and we have had a fairly kind fixture list. Although but people say that, but when we have played against decent teams, Southampton, who have played very well this season by and large, battered them 5-2. Man United, one of the top 6 teams, beating them 6-1. I know we lost 1-0 to Everton, but you know,
even West Ham are on good form this season.
West Ham, and we should have won that game. We gave it away in the last minute. So when we've played difficult games, I think we have turned up. But if you give a rating from Mourinho out of 10 for his first year,
a rating for Mourinho at his first year, I'll give him, I think, between a 7 and an 8.
Yes, well, exactly what I was saying, 7.5.
Yeah,
7.5 out of 10. I think good work, very promising. I think work to be done. But I think it's definitely going in the right direction.
What do you assess Pochettino's time at Spurs, his whole time at Spurs? What would you rate that?
I'll rate an 8.
An 8.
8 out of 10.
Fair enough. I mean, if he won anything, it would have bumped up to a 9. If he would have won the Premier League one of those 2 years, or the Champions League, it's 10 out of 10.
I think he did extremely well to have done what he did at Tottenham, to have taken the squad who was in a complete mess at the time and transform us in 1 year into title challengers and regular top 4. It was nothing being in the top 4 when Poch was finished at the club. Yeah. We didn't even consider it an achievement.
He made it an expectancy instead of a hope and a wish. You know, remember when before Poch came to Spurs, we had only ever played 1 year in the Champions League, and it was like the holy grail to us. You know what I mean? And now it's just like, it's a failure if we don't get Champions League. The season is a complete failure.
The biggest thing Pochettino did was make overachieving seem normal. That was the biggest thing, because we overachieved so much, and everyone, all of a sudden, we didn't win the league, and people like making fun of us for not winning the league when we shouldn't even have been in the conversation at the beginning of the season. Yeah. And that is what Pochettino did.
That year that Leicester won the league, everyone goes mad at Spurs saying, yeah, you came third in a 2-horse race, oh, you chucked it away. But the pure facts of the matter is we were never top that year. Arsenal are the ones that really chucked it away.
They were top in January.
Exactly, you know what I mean?
And not only that, when you look at everyone's predictions at the beginning of that season, how many people had Tottenham in the top 4? I guarantee you no one had Tottenham in the top 4.
Look at the predictions this season. Who had Tottenham in the top 4
No one had Tottenham in the top 4 this season. And it looks like we'll long way to go, but the signs are looking good for that. But I think Pochettino completely overachieved, and I think his time at the club, I think even looking back now, it's completely underappreciated by rest. Look at the Man United fans completely disrespecting Poch. I see a lot of people saying, "Why would we want Poch? What's he done?" It's like
But on the
you
flip
have
side,
no idea.
I'm seeing a lot of fans going the other way as well. I mean, I think the fan base is kind of split on that one.
Split,
Yeah.
in terms of how he's done.
No, are you talking about Pochettino?
Are you talking about Man United fans are split? Yeah, they are split. They are split, but I think the Man United fans who can't see the good work Pochettino did are blind or something, because Pochettino did so much good work at
those
Tottenham.
fans are literally just seeing things in black and white. Oh, he didn't win any trophies, he's a failure.
And also, not only that, I think a lot of Man United fans are starting to wake up that Mourinho maybe wasn't the problem at Man United.
I think the fans were split as well after Mourinho left, because basically Mourinho went head to head with Pogba, and the club backed Pogba and sacked Mourinho. That's pretty much how it went down.
There was a lot more to it.
Obviously, but those are the
that was the
crux.
biggest problem. And you look at now, they can't get a tune out of Pogba.
Exactly.
Oli can't get a tune out of Pogba.
The majority of Man United fans now would want to sell Pogba.
Mm-hmm. And so just proving Mourinho right. And the fact of the matter is, no manager since Fergie left has done better than Mourinho. He still finished second, which no one's done.
With an awful squad.
With a terrible squad. He's the only manager to have won trophies since Fergie left. So I think at the end, you look back at Mourinho's time at United, you got to say he actually didn't do too bad. I'm not going to say he did an amazing job, because he didn't, but I'm going to say it was definitely underappreciated, the job he did at Man United. That's also for sure. So I think, retrospectively on that, the signs are good for Tottenham on that one, that Mourinho still has that spark. He has that aura about him, which is the most important thing for the belief of the squad, and I think he has the know-how to get us over the line. So I think at the end of the day, after a year in charge of Mourinho, I'm happy with him in charge. I'm excited for what the season is going to bring for us. I'm really confident. I have a belief as a fan that we are going to win something this season, and I think that belief is definitely being instilled into the squad as well. So, I want to know all your thoughts on Mourinho's first year, how you think he's fared, how has he compared to the end of the Pochettino era as well, and even peak Pochettino. I want to know how you think he's going to compare to that, and I'm excited to see your thoughts as well, because it's interesting.
All right, so there you have it. 1 year on since Jose Mourinho has joined Spurs, or nearly 1 year on, should I say. I know you like to be a bit pedantic in the comment section below. But yeah, we're nearly 1 year off, 1 year on since Mourinho has joined Tottenham. Let me know in the comment section below what your thoughts are regarding anything and everything we've spoken about in this video. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.